Did we get the birth of Jesus all wrong? For centuries, December 25th has been celebrated worldwide. But what if I told you this iconic date might be a well-crafted myth? Shocking, right? In this episode, we'll unravel historical clues, delve into Jewish calendars, and challenge traditions to uncover the real story behind Jesus' birth. Forget everything you think you know about Christmas. Stay with me to discover what theologians, historians, and scripture truly reveal about the Messiah's arrival.
All right, so you know how we always hear that story about Jesus' birth around Christmas time?
Yeah.
It's like a tradition, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what if I told you that there's a chance we might have the date wrong?
Really?
Like, what if December 25th wasn't actually the day Jesus was born?
Well, it's a question that has puzzled scholars and historians for centuries.
Oh, wow.
You see, the Bible doesn't explicitly state the date, and there's evidence to suggest that December 25th might have been adopted for other reasons.
Okay, so we've got this YouTube video transcript that someone sent in
Okay.
that really dives into this whole debate and some personal notes, too.
Interesting.
And let me tell you, someone's been doing some serious digging.
Sounds like it.
Yeah. The video starts off by making this really bold claim.
Uh-oh.
It says that December 25th wasn't actually the original date of Jesus' birth, but was strategically chosen by the early Catholic Church.
Wow.
Yeah, that's the part that really threw me for a loop.
Yeah.
It's like, wait a minute, that's what we've always celebrated. Why would they pick a different date?
Well, the theory is that it was all about making Christianity more appealing to people who were already celebrating pagan holidays around the winter solstice.
Okay.
You know, the shortest day of the year.
Sure.
And think about it back in Roman times. It was much easier to just incorporate existing holidays than to try and abolish them outright.
Oh, so they just kind of rolled with it.
Exactly.
That's pretty smart.
Yeah.
They even gave some examples in the video,
Yeah.
right? Like specific holidays that were already happening around that time.
Exactly. They mentioned the Egyptian god Osiris and the Persian god Mithra,
Right.
both of whom had these huge festivals that coincided with the winter solstice.
Wow.
So incorporating elements of those celebrations into the Christian calendar would make the transition much smoother for new converts.
That makes sense. But wouldn't people have noticed that the date didn't actually line up with what's in the Bible?
That's a really good question.
Yeah.
But we have to remember that for many people in the Roman Empire, access to scripture wasn't like it is today.
That's true.
Plus, the Bible doesn't just come right out and say Jesus was born on this specific date.
Right.
It focuses more on the circumstances surrounding his birth.
Right, like the whole shepherds in the field thing.
Yes. And that's actually where the YouTube video raises another interesting point.
Okay.
It points out that shepherds tending to their flocks in the fields at night doesn't quite fit the image of December in the Middle East.
Yeah, it does seem a bit off.
Right.
Like, wouldn't it have been freezing and rainy?
Yeah.
Not exactly ideal for newborn lambs either.
Precisely, December in that region, which corresponds to the Jewish month of Kislev, would have been pretty harsh for outdoor shepherding.
Okay, so maybe December isn't the right fit.
Right.
But then when was Jesus actually born?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question.
Right.
To understand that, we really need to shift our perspective a bit.
Okay.
We have to remember that Jesus was Jewish, which means his life would have followed the Jewish calendar, not the Gregorian calendar that we use today.
And that's where things get tricky for those of us who aren't familiar with the Jewish calendar.
It is a very different system.
Yeah.
For starters, the Jewish year begins in the spring,
Okay.
around March or April, not January.
Huh.
And December actually falls during the Jewish month of Kislev.
Okay.
So everything's kind of shifted.
Yeah.
Which means we need to look for clues in the Bible based on the Jewish calendar, not our own.
So it's like a whole different puzzle.
It is.
I love it.
Yeah.
So where do we even begin to look for those clues?
Well, the YouTube video points us to some very interesting passages in the book of Luke.
Okay.
And my notes also offer some additional context, too.
Excellent. All right, let's dive in. What's the first clue?
It all starts with Zechariah, John the Baptist's father.
Okay.
The book of Luke tells us he was a priest serving in the temple during the 8th month of the Jewish year.
Okay.
That would be the month of Cheshvan,
Right.
which falls around October or November on our calendar.
Okay, so we got Zechariah doing his priestly duties in Cheshvan. But why is that important?
Well, he wasn't a celebrity in the modern sense.
Okay.
But back then, priestly service rotations were very carefully organized.
Yeah.
Each family had a very specific time to serve. So knowing that Zechariah was serving in Cheshvan really helps us to pinpoint the timeline.
Oh, okay. I'm starting to see how the pieces fit together here.
Good.
What's the next clue?
Well, let's go back a bit earlier in Luke.
Okay.
Remember the angel Gabriel visiting Mary?
Of course. Every Christmas pageant I was ever in had that scene.
Well, that visit from Gabriel happened in the 6th month of the Jewish year, which is Sivan. That's around May or June on our calendar.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
If Gabriel visited Mary in Sivan, the 6th month, and we add 9 months for a typical pregnancy,
Yeah.
boom, we land right back in Cheshvan, which is October, November.
Exactly. That's the main argument that the video makes.
Wow.
It's a pretty compelling timeline based on the Jewish calendar and the events described in Luke.
So are we saying case closed? Jesus was definitely born in October?
Not so fast. We're
Thanks.
dealing with ancient texts and interpretations here.
Sure.
But it's definitely a fascinating possibility, isn't it?
It is.
And there's one more piece of the puzzle we need to consider.
Okay, I'm all ears.
Let's think back to what we discussed earlier about the early Christians seeming to be more focused on Jesus' death and resurrection than his birth.
Right.
My notes actually go a bit deeper into that.
Right.
They point out that early Christian practices really centered on those events.
Interesting. So what does that have to do with his birthday?
Well, it might explain why there wasn't a fixed birth date celebration in the early church.
Okay.
It simply wasn't their main focus. The meaning of Jesus's life, death, and resurrection.
Right.
That's what took center stage.
Okay.
They might not have even considered the specific date of his birth to be that important.
So maybe the exact date was less important to them than it is to us now.
Yeah.
It's more about understanding the bigger picture.
Exactly. Yeah, it really makes you think, huh?
It does. It really does. Like, we've always been so fixated on December 25th, but maybe those early Christians were onto something. Like, what if the exact date is less crucial than just the meaning behind the event?
That's a good question. It really makes you think, what matters more to us, the historical accuracy or the spiritual message?
Yeah.
And that's something we each have to kind of grapple with individually.
It's true. It's like, on the one hand, I'd love to know the actual date just so I can celebrate accurately. Should I be baking a birthday cake in October now?
Right.
But then on the other hand, you have this really rich tradition built around December 25th with all those messages of hope and love.
Right. And those messages resonate with people across so many cultures and beliefs.
Yeah.
Whether you're a devout Christian or just appreciate the spirit of the season, there's an undeniable power in that.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe we'll never know for sure exactly when Jesus was born.
Right.
But this whole exploration has really opened my eyes to a new perspective.
And that's what I love about these kinds of topics.
Me too.
It challenges our assumptions and encourages us to think critically about what we believe and why.
For sure. And I think it's safe to say that December 25th will probably still remain the day we associate with Christmas.
Yeah, most likely. The tradition's pretty deeply ingrained in our culture at this point.
Yeah.
But now we can approach it with a deeper understanding of the nuances surrounding the date.
Exactly. Like, maybe we can appreciate that the early Christians weren't so concerned with the when and more focused on the why.
Precisely. And that why is a topic we could spend hours on.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. But for now, let's leave our listeners with one final thought-provoking question to ponder.
Ooh, I like it.
Hit us with it.
All right. If the specific date wasn't as crucial to the early Christians, what does that tell us about how they understood the meaning of Jesus's birth in the grand scheme of things?
Wow, that's a powerful question.
Yeah.
It really makes you think about their priorities and the essence of the message that they wanted to convey. It really does.
Yes.
And maybe it can help to guide us towards focusing on what truly matters during this season and beyond.
Yeah, I think that's the perfect note to end on. This has been an incredible journey, just peeling back the layers of history and tradition surrounding Jesus' birth.
It really has.
I've learned so much.
Me too. And I really hope our listeners feel empowered to explore the origins of their own beliefs and traditions.
Yeah.
There's always something new to discover, especially when we're open to challenging our assumptions and embracing new perspectives.
Couldn't agree more.
Okay.
So to all of you listening out there, we want to hear from you. What resonated with you most in this episode?
Yeah.
Did you have any aha moments? Share your insights or your questions.
Yeah.
Even your own theories about Jesus' birth month.
All right.
We're all ears.
We are. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep those brains buzzing.
Yeah, it really is amazing to consider how much emphasis we put on this one specific date. And speaking of December 25th, there was another interesting detail in the notes you shared.
Yeah.
It talked about how December 25th might be connected to this ancient Roman festival
Oh, yeah.
called Saturnalia.
Saturnalia, right?
Saturnalia.
Yeah.
That sounds familiar, but I can't quite place it.
Oh, sure.
Can you refresh my memory?
Yeah, so it was basically a week-long celebration in honor of the god Saturn.
Okay.
And it was a time for feasting and gift-giving and just general merriment.
Oh, wow.
Imagine like a time where social norms were completely flipped.
Okay.
Slaves were served by their masters, and everyone just got to kind of indulge a bit.
So basically a giant party.
Yeah, pretty much.
Sounds kind of fun, actually.
It does have a certain appeal, right?
Yeah.
Well, some scholars actually believe that the early church may have strategically chosen December 25th
Okay.
to coincide with Saturnalia
Interesting.
as a way to blend Christian beliefs with these existing Roman traditions.
Oh, that's smart. It's like what we were talking about earlier with incorporating all those other winter solstice celebrations, right? It's all about making that transition a little bit easier.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of trying to completely wipe out Saturnalia, they kind of just like Christianized it.
Exactly. They infused it with new meaning and symbolism.
That's a really good way to put it. And I bet it worked too.
Oh, I'm sure.
I mean, think about it. People were already used to celebrating during that time of year.
Right.
So why not just give them a new reason to celebrate? A reason centered on, the birth of Jesus and the hope that he brought to the world.
That's right.
Wow, that makes so much sense.
Yeah.
It's like they took this thing that was already familiar
Yeah.
and just gave it a whole new, deeper layer of meaning.
Exactly.
It's amazing how history and traditions just kind of weave together like that.
It really is. And it shows how flexible and adaptable cultures can be.
For sure.
They borrow from each other and evolve.
Right.
And then create something totally new in the process.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
And, that's what I love about exploring these historical mysteries.
Me too.
It's like we get to uncover all these layers of meaning and see how all these different events and beliefs have shaped the world that we live in today.
Absolutely.
So if anyone out there is feeling inspired to do a little historical digging of their own,
Yes.
we encourage you to share your findings with us.
Please do.
We're always eager to learn from our listeners and to keep the conversation going.
For sure.
Absolutely. And on that note, we'll wrap things up for today. Thanks for joining us on this exploration of Jesus' birth month.
Yeah. Thanks for listening, everybody.
It's been an amazing journey, and I hope you've all enjoyed it as much as we have.
I hope so too. And until next time, keep questioning, keep learning,
Yeah,
and keep searching for those hidden gems of knowledge.
absolutely.
As we bring this journey to a close, let us reflect on the profound truth we've uncovered today. The birth of Jesus Christ, a cornerstone of faith, transcends calendars and traditions. The historical, theological, and scriptural evidence points to October, a time rich with meaning in the Jewish calendar. Could it be that our cherished December 25th celebration is rooted more in tradition than truth? What does this mean for our faith today? The deeper we dive into the scriptures, the more we question. Why was the truth about Christ's birth replaced by pagan-influenced dates? Was it a matter of convenience, or a deliberate shift in focus? And what if discovering the true timeline reshapes our understanding of his divine mission? These questions aren't just historical, they're personal. I invite you to share your thoughts in the comments below. Let's keep this conversation alive. If this revelation has stirred your faith or challenged your perspective, then don't keep it to yourself. Hit that subscribe button to join a community devoted to uncovering biblical truths. Like this video to support this mission and share it with friends and family who deserve to know the real story behind Jesus' birth. Together, we can unravel centuries of tradition with one powerful truth at a time. Jesus Christ wasn't just born to fulfill prophecy, his life was meant to illuminate ours. Keywords like birth of Jesus, Jewish calendar, and Christian faith revelations are more than SEO strategies. They represent the heart of this channel's mission. What role does accurate knowledge play in deepening your spiritual walk? Let's ponder this together. And remember, each like and share amplifies this message of clarity and hope. Think about it. If Christ's birth diverges from our celebrated traditions, what else might we need to reevaluate about our worship practices? Are we clinging to rituals when Christ calls us to relationship? Comment below with your thoughts. This is more than a lesson in history. It's a call to align our hearts with his truth. Don't miss this opportunity to rediscover the foundations of your faith. To those who feel conflicted or even unsettled by this revelation, let me assure you, truth is never a threat to faith. Instead, it's the foundation upon which faith flourishes. Could this knowledge draw you closer to the heart of Christ, whose birth wasn't just miraculous but intentional in its timing and purpose? Let's reflect on this together and deepen our understanding.